Reese Witherspoon, the acclaimed actress known for her roles in films like Legally Blonde and her production work on hits such as Big Little Lies, recently found herself at the center of a heated online controversy after voicing an unconventional opinion on the state of modern romance. During a candid appearance on the popular podcast Armchair Expert hosted by actor Dax Shepard, Witherspoon delved into what she perceives as the root cause of why dating feels so challenging in today's world. Her theory? The decline of romantic comedies, or rom-coms, as a cultural staple has left an entire generation adrift, struggling to navigate the intricacies of interpersonal relationships without the guidance those light-hearted films once provided. Witherspoon, who has long been a proponent of female-led stories in Hollywood, explained her perspective with a mix of nostalgia and genuine concern. She argued that in previous decades, movies like When Harry Met Sally or Sleepless in Seattle starring the iconic Meg Ryan served as more than mere entertainment. They acted as informal tutorials on social cues, flirtation techniques, and the art of vulnerability. "We learned social dynamics from rom-coms and sitcoms," she stated emphatically, her voice carrying the weight of someone who has spent her career immersed in storytelling. According to her, these films taught audiences how to approach potential partners, handle rejection with humor, and ultimately, build connections that felt both exciting and attainable. But with the genre's popularity waning in the streaming era, overshadowed by gritty dramas, superhero blockbusters, and reality TV, younger people are left without those blueprints, leading to a widespread sense of confusion and disconnection in the dating scene. The actress elaborated further, painting a vivid picture of how this cultural shift has manifested in real life. She recounted stories from her own experiences on sets and in social circles, where conversations about dating often devolve into frustration over ghosting, mismatched expectations, and the superficiality of apps like Tinder or Bumble. Witherspoon suggested that without the rom-com's optimistic lens, where grand gestures and witty banter lead to happily ever afters, people now approach romance with a cynicism born of endless scrolling and algorithmic mismatches. "It's like we've lost the script," she mused, emphasizing that sitcoms like Friends or How I Met Your Mother once filled similar roles by normalizing awkward first dates and group hangouts that blossomed into something more. In her view, this absence has created a vacuum, where Gen Z and millennials alike fumble through interactions without the reassuring tropes of meet cuties or airport chases to fall back on. However, Witherspoon's comments didn't land as intended. Almost immediately after the episode aired, social media platforms erupted in a chorus of backlash, with users from all walks of life decrying her take as profoundly disconnected from reality. Hashtags like #ReeseOutOfTouch and #RomComsAren't the problem trended on Twitter, now X, and TikTok as influencers, therapists, and everyday daters piled on with pointed critiques. Many labeled her opinion as tone-deaf and embarrassingly Hollywood, accusing the star of romanticizing an industry that has historically prioritized fantasy over the gritty truths of contemporary life. "This is peak privilege," one viral tweet read, garnering thousands of likes and retweets. Reese lives in a world where love stories are scripted and funded by studios. The rest of us are dealing with rent hikes, therapy waitlists, and apps that treat us like products. The detractors were quick to highlight what they saw as the real culprits behind dating woes: systemic issues that no amount of Nora Ephron screenplays could fix. Social anxiety, exacerbated by the isolation of the pandemic and the performative nature of social media, was frequently cited as a far more pressing barrier than a lack of fluffy movies. Financial pressures, including skyrocketing housing costs and student debt, were another common thread, with users arguing that it's impossible to woo someone when you're barely affording groceries. One particularly poignant response came from a 28-year-old graphic designer on Instagram: "Maybe dating's hard because of housing prices and social anxiety, not because we're missing Meg Ryan. Try swiping right when you can't even afford a coffee date." This sentiment resonated widely, spawning memes juxtaposing glamorous rom-com scenes with screenshots of Venmo requests or doom-scrolling feeds filled with economic doom and gloom headlines. Critics also took aim at the content of those very rom-coms Witherspoon praised, pointing out their often problematic portrayals of relationships. Classic films, they argued, frequently glossed over consent issues, reinforced gender stereotypes, and promoted grand, unrealistic gestures that could border on stalking in a modern context, like the infamous boombox scene in Say Anything. "Those movies didn't teach healthy dynamics. They taught us to chase unavailable people and ignore red flags," wrote a relationship coach in a widely shared LinkedIn post. This line of reasoning gained traction among feminist commentators, who accused Witherspoon of selective nostalgia, ignoring how the genre has evolved, or failed to include diverse voices and more equitable narratives. Even fans of the actress who have long admired her advocacy for women's stories expressed disappointment, with one Reddit thread titled "Reese, we love you, but..." amassing over 5,000 upvotes and discussions about how her comments overlooked intersectional challenges faced by marginalized communities in dating. Not everyone dismissed Witherspoon's theory outright though. A subset of online voices offered partial agreement, acknowledging that media does shape our expectations of love. They conceded that rom-coms at their best encouraged effort, emotional honesty, and the joy of pursuit, qualities that feel scarce in an era dominated by casual hookups and fear of commitment. "There's something to what she's saying about cultural touchstones," admitted a film critic in a Substack newsletter. "Without those shared stories, we're all just improvising in a void." Yet, even these more sympathetic takes wrapped up by calling her phrasing privileged and dated, suggesting that a celebrity of her stature could have framed it with more nuance, perhaps by tying it to broader conversations about media literacy or mental health resources.